2026, we've been ready for what's about to start here. So,
Yeah,
well,
hey, we're,
I
we're
wanted
having a conversation off stage, and it is absolutely epic. We're here with the man, Mr. Man from Canada, soon to be the 51st state in the United States. And I know he can't wait. I know my good friend, Mr. Joe Siciliano, can't wait as well. He'll be down here faster than shit goes through a goose. And I know a lot of people will, because there's a lot of Canadians that are awake. He's an expert in decentralized finance. He knows a lot about Ripple and XRP and Brad Garlinghouse and Satoshi Nakamoto, aka David Schwartz. He knows the fact that we're connected with the Treasury. We're on the world stage. The stage has been set for XRP to be front and center to move everything. And if you own the one and you're patient, yes, it could take another 17 months. It could take another 34 months. Who cares? My wife just said she cares.
a lot of people actually care about the timing. When it's funny because in reality, uh, even if I didn't hold XRP, I'd still be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like life still continues on with or
Sure,
without it. But it's
sure.
just now there's definitely something shinier to look forward to in the near future.
Especially if you own silver.
No doubt,
$67.
man.
How you doing? How you doing
Yo,
out there?
that thing reached on some exchanges $100 Canadian. That's where we're at.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. We're gonna be reaching 100 US by, I would say, no later than the end of March. By the
You think
time my
so?
movie comes out, dearmrpresident.net, dearmrpresident.net, part two, we're going to shake the foundations of Mother Earth because every government is in on the same scam. And when we expose the scam, I might have to go to Canada and go hide with Mr. Man, put a mask on. I could be Batman or something. You know what I mean?
Do it. Do it up, man. Do it up.
Brother, talk to us about decentralized finance. It's a subject you happen to know a lot about. Uh, Tell us everything you know. I'll just join into the conversation as needed. I have my own sort of philosophy that I'm developing based on tidbits that we're getting on the internet. I love the Tangent wallet. I'm getting my wife to move everything over to the Tangent wallet. Amber's right here. She's listening. Tangent wallet, Amber. Okay. And the reality is you're going to be attaching a Visa card to your Tangent wallet. So your money could be like, you could show that you have the money and your money's staking and earning yield, but it never leaves your wallet. You have your debit card that's attached to your Tangent wallet. Is that the definition of a bank on steroids and you've just become your own bank? Enlighten us, please.
It can be, but it depends on how you look at it. When we talk about DeFi or decentralized finance, there's so many avenues you can go down. But I'm going to give you some intel or some insight into how I talk to my group, my Patreon there, about DeFi, decentralized finance, as well as the Sovereignty Act of what we need to do as individuals to make sure we're ready for the rollout of this new coming ecosystem. When I say ecosystem, just talk about the digital world. So essentially,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about Tangem and how and what you can do with Tangem as it's connected to Visa, and you can essentially use your own money outside of the banking system itself. But one of the things I do is I have a sovereign wallet architect because you have to protect yourself as well. A lot of people have big bags offline, as they would call it, but those big bags had essentially connected to an exchange, and they sent their funds from an exchange to their big bags, one to one, and that's it. Meanwhile, I have an architecture, and that architecture is only my burner wallets. And when I say burner wallets, I mean like my hot wallets itself, I actually use to connect to exchanges or anything that can be impervious to attack or a hack or a scam or something. So with that wallet, the minute I send funds from an exchange to that burner wallet, I move it up to my DeFi wallet next, and that's the next line of defense in my architecture there. And the reason I want that because this wallet just connects to the exchanges. If anything happens, this wallet's a burner wallet, whatever. The one above that's a DeFi wallet. I use that one, and that's a hardware wallet as well. Could be a Tangem, could be SafePal, could be whatever it is. But I'm earning in that. That's my liquidity wallet, and I move that up to the next stage afterward, which is my firewall wallet at that point. And the reason it's called the firewall wallet is because that's the only wallet, that's the only other entity that knows my big bags address is, and that's the only address that should be sending anything to my big bag. So if anything ever happened up the line, I have three wallets to protect me before anything even could even exist with my big bags itself. No one knows about it. No one has access to the wallet. No one has
Right,
access
right.
to the to anything other than my own firewall wallet below that. That's the only address that knows that address.
I hear
Yeah,
you loud and clear.
here we go.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. So you're saying we're going to have some mechanisms in place that the money never even really has to leave your account. You have full custody, but because you show the money, you could still earn a yield. Am I hearing you correctly? Or maybe I'm not hearing you properly. Because
So
we worked so hard to get here. You're just not going to give somebody like $8 billion, and all of a sudden, you wake up one morning and your money's gone, right? We can't do that.
no, but I mean, in regards to connectivity to Visa through Tangent itself, you are and aren't essentially being your own bank. You're still using a third-party platform for your money transmission, which is Visa, which has to settle online. Um, Personally, I prefer to just do everything more in the decentralized manner where I'm not using Visa, I'm not using MasterCard, I'm not using any of these cards. I'm creating my own rails that are sovereign to myself, if that makes sense. Like I'm moving from one ledger to a bridge to another ledger at that point there, and I'm doing this without Visa, MasterCard, without, only the stable coin or only the crypto asset itself, directly from myself to you, and how I choose to allow it to get there, as opposed to through these regulated rails that need to be implemented in that regulated manner.
Right. And my question to you is this, right? Very simple. My question is because see, I'm a Brooklyn guy, I'm a New Jersey guy, I'm a Newark guy, I'm a street guy, right? And the street guy is going to want to know and explain it to them in layman's terms, can someone steal my money? That's all they want to know. And if you can explain it to them, in real life where they understand that no one can ever steal their money, now we got their attention, right? Because no one wants to work as hard as we worked so far. Excuse me, nobody wants to work as hard as we worked so far. And I got to clean my whiteboard as I'm going here. So I'm so busy. But anyway, so we want to make sure that we don't want to wake up to an FTX situation. Does that make sense?
So yeah, it does make sense. And I mean, the FTX situation can come in any shape, manner, or form, especially because people are engaged in DeFi too.
Hmm.
And DeFi right now is on the chopping blocks as the regulators and central banks roll out regulations for DeFi itself. Stable coins that come in Mika. Stable coins are on their way out through US now, through
Hmm.
the Genius Act, as well as the Clarities, once the Clarity Act comes through itself.
What do you
And
mean
once the
they're on the way out? Explain that.
stable coins.
Yeah.
So they're being utilized in a regulated manner right now, but only on a low volume, I would say, right? There's like maybe a couple billion in terms of stable coin volume itself. I mean, meanwhile, globally, there's trillions of dollars, multiples of trillions of dollars moving. So for stable coins, that's still in the early stage of money movement, is what I'm saying there.
Oh, okay. But
Mhm.
so in your honest, humble opinion, based on what you know, based on what you learned over the years, etc., you think that there are going to be some very safe, foolproof systems where the Mel Carmines of the world don't have to panic or be in a what would you call it schizo, mode, right? Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't want to go schizophrenic trying to worry about my money that someone's trying to steal my money. Where I could, because when you have billions of dollars, you don't really need to have this big yield. You can have a very small yield of like 2%, 3% a year, and you can live very comfortable on that. If you're yielding on $1 billion or $2 billion worth of XRP, and there's going to be many of these stories as we go forward, right? So my question to you is: it's going to be safe, or are we gonna absolutely experience at least one more or two more FTX stories? And I don't want to be the guy that's sitting in that ticking time bomb, so to speak, right?
there's going to be some FTX ticking time bombs. They're already set and waiting to go right now. There's been issues already with Chainlink and Moonwell. Moonwell is a DeFi platform for
Hmm.
liquidity pools. You have staking in there as well. You have borrowing, lending on Moonwell. And their Oracle services were being executed by Chainlink, and Chainlink was given a bad price feed. I think it was last month, which means due to the price not being what was shown, there was a lag time from what Chainlink was providing versus what was being shown in Moonwell at that point there. So people had lost millions on that platform. There was also Balancer and another one, Stream Finance, I believe it was. There was $100 million hack. So there's things happening all around. We are actually in black swan territory right now. So I don't want to use the term I'm expecting something to happen because we're already in it. However, if I'm a forecasting man, and I am, I definitely see something big happening because it's always problem, reaction, solution. The problem right now is being rolled out as you and I are chatting, and then we are going to have that reaction, and they're going to have that solution just waiting for us there. So I am forecasting that. I tell my group right now not to be so heavy in DeFi. Continue to learn it. Continue to understand what's going on because, like you were saying, once we have these assets in the regulated manner and we can use these things and feel more confident and comfortable that things are going to blow up in our face, that's not the time when you want to be experimenting. You want to be executing already. Now is the time, and in the past, you should have been experimenting with DeFi, losing $2, $5, making $100, whatever it was. That's when we should have been experimenting. Now is the time for to be locked in, to watch what's going on, and then as this continues to roll out, that's the time we execute because we've already spent time learning about what's happening. So
See,
yeah, I expect something big to happen.
and this is why I love what you and I do. But you see, for example, I put my trust in a guy like this guy, for example, to he's the guy that specializes in decentralized finance, right? He's focused on that particular sector of the market, for example. So if I trust you and I trust your content and I trust you as a person and I get good vibes off of you, right? I follow you to minimize my mistakes.
Cool. Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I may fit another part of the equation and someone else will follow me to fit that part of the equation. But before we go any further, I got to pay the bills around here. So let me go through. I'm not going to put commercials on everything, guys, but I got to, advertise a little bit, okay? QFS1776.com/shop. Shop with the good guys. We even have organic dog food now for your dogs, so they don't grow those lumps on the side of their body and they're unhealthy. They're eating cardboard. Okay, they're taking cardboard, they're wetting it down, they're putting all kinds of artificial flavors in it, and they're killing your dogs. Okay, go to our website QFS1776.com shop and get your dog some healthy food. All right. CarminesGold.com. I'm selling more silver right now at $67. when I was trying to tell people to buy it at $23, I'm like, what? I can't figure it out. Okay. So CarminesGold.com. We got plenty of silver still, but I don't know for how long. I don't know for how long. I predict the market's going to dry up. You're going to go to a lot of these premier websites out there, and they're going to say, hey, we'll deliver. We can take your order now, but we'll deliver in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And 3, 4 weeks, you're going to get an email with an excuse that it's delayed because there's no more silver. Okay. And when that day comes, your silver that you own right now, you'll be able to sell it on the black market for $400 to $500, even $600 an ounce on the black market. And that's not where it ends. It's going to go way beyond that. Okay. Also, if you want to buy a large sum of crypto, I am connected to the biggest brokerage firms in the world. Why do you want a brokerage firm? First of all, they're not going to charge you any more or any less than Coinbase or any of the other ones. But with us, you can actually get a phone call or a Zoom call, etc. We can do as much as you want. 786-704-8817, 786-704-8817. Make sure you send me a text message, the information. I'll contact you when I'm free and we can get that going for you. And if you happen to be in Cape Canaveral, come by at Staying Alive with 2 E's at the end, Staying Alive, and recharge the body. The body wants to recharge just like your Tesla. All right, let's continue, man.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in end of January and the beginning of February there for that conference out in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, you're doing that one.
Um,
Okay, who's doing that one?
Alan Staples.
Staples. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't been formally invited to that. Maybe they don't want me there.
Oh, you're not going to be there. Okay, I
I
thought
don't
you
know.
were. Okay,
I might if I get invited, I'll go. If I don't get invited, I don't go.
okay, okay.
You know. So, I mean, I don't want to intrude on anybody's party, right? So,
No doubt.
where do you see XRP in the coming months? Where do you see XRP in the coming weeks? I mean, we are in the most manipulated market. I mean, it is so in your face. They've now figured out a way to keep it between a dollar, 86 and a dollar 92. Sometimes they give you a little teaser. They allow it to go over $2, like $2.03, and then they bring it right back down to a dollar 73. The manipulation, not just with Bitcoin, XRP, all the big ones, is blatant and in your face. Do you believe that, or do you think I'm a conspiracy theorist?
So you're definitely a conspiracy theorist. So am I, which is why I wear a tinfoil hat. However, I also think right now we're in a downward trend of consolidation here, where money is moving into gold and silver, and you can see that vertical pump happening here. So for that to continue to happen, it's definitely artificial because nothing moves like that naturally. So with that upswing that we're currently experiencing with metal, I'm forecasting in early January to February, you're going to see a rotation out of metals into crypto assets. So one's going up, one's going down, right? They're negatively correlated. So as this thing goes up, just like Bitcoin, as Bitcoin continues to go up, people roll profits out of Bitcoin into Ethereum, from Ethereum down to altcoins, and that's where we're going. That's just an asset rotation right now from out of metals into crypto assets themselves. As I'm looking forward into January 1st, we have Basel III coming in play January 1st, 2026, which is the liquidity squeeze at this point here. I have a video on my X where Jamie Dimon is talking about how this liquidity squeeze is going to hurt the everyday person itself. And that's why you see the Republicans coming out right now with this $1,000, what do they call it there? The Trump card or whatever it's called, the $1,000 gift to babies, one-time contribution the Treasury makes, and at the time of their retirement, they can have 600K. They also have that Trump gold card that just came out now. All of these things are digital ID, digital onboarding mechanisms. Aside from that, we have the RCAP regime under the BIS coming into play as well. So with the liquidity squeezing, that's going to allow for the necessity now for an old archaic rail to potentially freeze. If you remember back in October, I think it was October 10th or 13th, we had that huge drawdown and people were like, oh my God, what is going? You're going to see a lot more of that through a lot of shadow banks is what they're called. They're not actual banks and financiers, they're shadow banks. They do it behind the scenes. And they utilize bad loans itself, high leverage loans. You're going to see a lot more companies, a lot more banks beginning to fail. And that's going to allow for a liquidity squeeze somewhere in something because of a rail. It's not the rail itself is going to freeze. And with that freezing and seizing up, you're going to see a lot of traditional assets begin to lose their value. There was a video I posted as well. Jerome Powell was speaking to Raghuram Rajan, who is one of the executives at Ripple, who came from the RBI Board of Governors, Reserve Board of India Governors, and he asked Jerome Powell, should the stock market take a hit, are you going to hold it up? And Jerome laughed and he's like, no, we're not going to. So perfect. I can see now how that there's going to be a downturn in traditional markets itself. And for traditional markets to actually swing down, they keep saying that there's going to be a soft landing, a soft landing. How does this soft landing look? It's going to be a rocky landing, soft landing, rocky. That's why all the stimulus is coming out right now. But the stimulus for that to come out, there needs to be rails, digital rails, already set, already running, already being ready for use at this point here. So as traditional markets begin to fall and fail, you'll see some of these assets hold their value. And people will be like, I don't understand what's going on. Meanwhile, the government is using this to get out UBI to different parties that need it. So if where we're sitting at right now, leading into from January to March, I'm forecasting, I know you like prices and whatnot. So I'm looking at $5 to $7 XRP, if I'm being very honest with you. going forward from March into July, the 250th year anniversary for the US, the commemoration of Independence Day. That is the big day they keep talking about. We're celebrating this. It's the US. And what that they are picturing $10 to $12 for XRP. Nothing huge. And people have these, wild price predictions. I don't see those huge price predictions as a reality because I'm following liquidity and following liquidity corridors that are opening up. And there's not many huge corridors yet, but they are opening up. But the value moving through those corridors, utilizing stablecoin and the burn rate would definitely allow for a $10 to $12 psychological level for XRP itself.
Well, obviously you would not be how would you call, how would I state this? In a room with a guy like Jake Claver, I think you would be at odds because
We're
Jake,
definitely at odds, yeah.
yeah, Jake is talking some really huge numbers. Now, do I believe those big numbers can manifest? I do, because I see us graduating at this three-dimensional world. I see us restoring the republic. I see us getting rid of the corporation of America completely. And if you understand that world that we're going into, and I see it vividly clear as clear as I can see the mask on your face, that we're moving into this different situation. I think this is why there's going to be a lot of tokens that are associated with the ISO tokens who are not part of the ISO tokens, but they are associated or backed, or it's a project that is backed by Ripple that you guys need to pay attention to. And you can pick up these tokens, which I will make available to you at a later broadcast, for dust. I mean, you could buy these things for dust right now for like nothing. You could buy hundreds of thousands for like, 400, $500 that I could show you the articles. I could show you who's behind the project. I could show you how much funding it's got. I could show you the management team, and that would be enough. Just those four little ingredients alone to get you uber excited, right? I believe that the big numbers that what's his name is talking about are going to manifest once we go into what's called the universal basic income. The rails have to be completely open. The big boys have to be fully on board, and we move from $5.56 quadrillion movement of money to conservatively $100 quadrillion because of the UBI and other things that are not in play right now, right? So when you start to do the basic math calculations and divisions, I think the big numbers could manifest. And I think that XRP doesn't have enough of an escrow account, okay, to be able to handle it all. That's why there's all these little tokens that are like secrets that we're going to tell you about in the very, very, very near future. I don't know about $5, $6, $8. Those are extremely uber ultra conservative numbers. I was hoping to get $100 price tag by March, April, May, and do a huge quantum summit part 3 here in, most likely we're steering towards the Orlando area or Miami area. We don't know yet, because I don't think anybody would complain to come to an event that's got a price tag to it, but it's not going to be a price tag where I'm trying to make money, because I'm going to probably donate all of it to a charity because we all won't need it anymore, right? So,
Let me
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't want to sort of suck up all the air out of the room, but I think the numbers are going to be much bigger than you think.
So let me qualify my statements here now. So you have this old world here, and you have the new world here.
Correct.
These guys are sitting connected right now. They're in a state of coexistence, is what the central banks call it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the old world. This is the new world.
Mm-hmm.
One is slowly going down, and one is slowly going to go up. And for it to go up, it doesn't just shoot up, and they begin to use it from 0 to 100%. They have to use it in a tiered manner. So for myself, I come from an aviation background, and I was currently contracted by the company I used to work for as an employment, W-2 or T4 for Canadians. And what essentially what I was doing was helping them cross the bridge, like with XRP, going from this old world software we're using to this new software we're using. And to go to this new software, I had to keep back checking and fact checking to make sure I had everything saved and brought forward or ported forward to this new software. And even when it's ported forward and there, and you feel confident and secure that you have all the necessary backups, and they're using it now, you're still not using it 100%. You're using it now more than you were before while still holding this, but you're slowly letting go of things here as you continue to build this in a tiered manner to the point where you're confident and comfortable to say, let me let this thing go. You let it go, and then you finally get that giant upswing. I mean, even a $5 XRP sitting at a dollar something right now is going to look tremendous on the charts. And eventually, leading into July, you'll see another big upswing at that point. And that big upswing is the upswing I'm waiting for because that's the 250th year anniversary. That's when UBI solidifies itself. That's when all these rails begin to activate because the U.S. Clarity Act is in place here. The SEC knows what they're doing. The CFTC knows what they're doing. They both have their different roles in what they're doing at this point here. The Genius Act for stable coins now, which allows for a 2-year implementation as well. There's that tier again. It's never just a linear thing. It's always implemented. 2025, it was implemented. 2026, a higher tier. 2027, they finally say this is the end result. This is the cutoff. 2027 is when you can look to these assets at a huge valuation at that point.
Right. So what would the number be once we have, I don't know how many people are going to be left on planet Earth because we had that medical procedure that a lot of us didn't want to take. So a lot of people are going to drop off, without getting too graphic for YouTube purposes, right? So let's say there's 6 billion people left on planet Earth, right? Let's say 2 billion go away. Okay, great. You got 6 billion. They're talking a very high level of UBI. They're not talking, $600 a month and enslavement and all that kind of stuff. They're talking about, potentially $6, $7, $8,000 a month, maybe even more, maybe even $10,000 a month in universal basic income, right? So you take, let's just round it off. Let's say 6 billion, 6 billion people times $6,000. It's a lot of money. Hey Siri, how much is 6 billion times $6,000?
6 billion times $6,000 is $36 trillion.
That's $36 trillion a month. That's got to travel through the universal basic income, which is another corridor that doesn't exist right now. It's a rail that doesn't exist. That's you're looking at more than $1 trillion a day, 1 point something trillion dollars per day. That's going to be traveling just to take care of universal basic income. We live in a very scary age. We have artificial intelligence, which they've had for a long time. They're just taking it out now because it's the most opportune time for them, not for us. Okay, robots. They've had it for a long time. They're bringing them out now because now it's the time, part of the reset. So a lot of things are getting ready to change. They're getting ready to introduce technology that are going to defy logic. People are not going to be able to understand all of this stuff because they refuse to wake up. And I don't want to even open up that can of worms, right? So we're moving into this huge demand to move a lot more money in the new world than we were in the old world. You can't move, $100 quadrillion a year conservatively, because you got government to government, you got corporation to corporation, you got remittances, you got universal basic income, you got all these things that we can't even see yet, right? 100 quadrillion divided by the escrow amount of just 36 billion tokens with XRP. Let's say if that was the only one, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars just on the XRP. Now, if you're the guy that's in charge and realize that, hey, we're moving into a world that we may expand in population. We may tell them that there's land on the other side of the ice walls and expand that way. And we'll be able to accommodate more people on planet Earth because we've graduated, hopefully, right? You're going to have to calculate that in. You say, hey, if we need a $10,000 XRP, why don't we just crank it up to 50,000? Why don't we just crank it up to 100,000 to hedge our bet for future, things that are coming? Does that make sense?
It can, for sure. But I mean, I'm often brought back to some of the original statements of some of the statements of the original Ripple team itself, Brad Garlinghouse, David Schwartz, what remember his name right now? Ashish Burla also said it too, that, XRP can operate should Ripple, the company, ever go away. Right. And
Right.
You had Ashish Burla leave Ripple to go start Evernorth. You had Stephon Thomas leave Ripple. You've had Joel Katz recently, not necessarily leave, but he's now stepping down from his CTO role to go look after other things as well. So we have some of these big people, prominent people in Ripple leaving. So is there going to be an executive board that and just the XRPL that looks after the foundation I'm talking about, that looks over and after XRP itself, because there's a time release for the escrow for XRP to come out, which doesn't necessarily have to operate through Ripple because we got smart contracts coming from different EVMs. So Flare offers smart contracts for XRP because you can now move XRP to the EVM at this point here. So there's many mechanisms in play here, and it's quite interesting to see the direction things are going.
Yeah. Do you think out of this entire thing, do you think that at this point, the governments of the world, predominantly the United States of America, who has an incredible experience at running Ponzi schemes, they have a PhD, public high school diploma, right? And you think they're going to put enough lipstick on this pig, and they're going to put a nice wig on it and makeup and eyebrows and make it look like a real pretty pig, so this way we can allow it to exist? Because if they shut it down, a lot of people are going to get hurt, right? Because it doesn't do anything. You know, as you guys say up there in Canada, it doesn't do fuck all, right? Correct?
Okay,
So it doesn't
okay.
move money. You can't transact with it. People don't want to spend that kind of money to move money, et cetera, et cetera. And it's slow as shit, and it's still 23 transactions per minute, whatever. So XRP is born. XRP, we know it's going to be the final Bitcoin. But do you think they allow the Bitcoin to survive?
I do. In all honesty, I do see it surviving. In what shape, way, or form, I'm not sure. And the reason I do see it surviving because it's already tokenized on various ledgers. It's tokenized on Algo. It's tokenized on Casper. It's tokenized on XRPL. It's tokenized on Stellar. It's tokenized on XDC. Like Bitcoin exists on these other ledgers already, so it's allowed to move and capable of moving from the Bitcoin network onto other ledgers at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So there's mechanisms for it to survive. I don't see this going like the same way I don't see Santa Claus ever leaving. I don't see the Easter Bunny leaving. I don't see any of these, made up holidays that came out of who knows where. You were just born into it. I can definitely foresee like a Satoshi Nakamoto day some year where we're all celebrating digitally on the phone, sending, I don't know, e-cards to people, whatever the ritual is. I definitely see some tradition somewhere in the future. Thank you, Satoshi, for giving us this Bitcoin. And I don't know why we do have this day, but I was just kind of born into it like Christmas. Like, no, I don't see it going. I don't see it staying at the valuation that people. I don't see $1 million Bitcoin. Unfortunately, I don't, because people are going to take more care or trust in the stable coin because the stable coin makes more sense to people. And the reason I say this, if I had $100 in my hand versus a couple ounces of gold worth a couple $1,000, most people would want the stable coin because they can go buy something with it, they can go do something with it, whereas Bitcoin, it just sits there. No one wants that, especially in a world where liquidity is tightening. They want that liquidity to go do what they got to do. They got Christmas shopping, they got taxes coming up. They want to go travel in the winter. They want that liquidity. That's where it is. Bitcoin will
Yeah.
stick around, just not like people think it's going to go.
Let's talk about taxes for a little bit. I want to jump around just because to keep the conversation interesting. There's only so much thing you can say about DeFi. I think you said it all in a nutshell earlier. But let's talk about taxes. What do you guys up there in Canada think about the fact that we are probably going to be the first state here in Florida to do away with property taxes altogether, and they're going to get rid of the IRS? I think the writing's on the wall. You got to be dumb, deaf, and blind not to see that the IRS is going to be a thing of the past entirely. There are people that haven't paid their taxes in eons, and they're still here free. I'm one of them. Okay, I'm free. I'm a free man. Okay, I'm
So
not the all caps guy that they put on the Social Security guy. I'm a man that was made by God. I'm not the guy in the all caps names, right? And if you know how to defend that, you can go a long way. But anyway, long story short, what do you guys in Canada think about that we're moving in that direction?
Well, I've heard this talk about the removal of taxes, and I find it interesting. I haven't quite made up my mind about it yet. The fact that this conversation even exists in our reality today is still up, to
Wild.
begin with. In Canada, nothing is changing. Canada itself is cooked. So I'm looking to someday in the future renounce my Canadian tax citizen and go to another jurisdiction to become a citizen there. Um, how the U.S. eliminates these taxes. I can see it as a reality because back in the early days, I don't remember the year to actually quote it. There was no income tax. There was none of these other taxes that existed within the U.S. because they survived in solely through
Tariffs.
tariffs, just tariffs itself, which is how the U.S. economy was thriving at this point. This is actually back in the day when it was Alexander Hamilton, I believe his name was, and he was one of the presidents or one of the main people within the U.S. It was strictly just tariffs that the U.S.
William McKinley.
What's that?
William McKinley, President William McKinley, and they killed him because
Okay.
they kill all the guys that try to do good, right? But and I think that Donald Trump is going to be very successful when you bring in the tariffs and you charge countries that want to do business with the most powerful, richest nation in the world, bar none. Okay, and you bring in tariffs and you stop charging your citizens taxes, you could bring in 10 times more money in tariffs than you can by charging your citizen and keeping your citizen stressed out, okay, by charging them taxes. That's a fact. Absolute fact. They had such a surplus of cash back during William McKinley. They didn't know what to do with all the cash, and we're going back to that same scenario through Trump. You don't need the property taxes. You don't need the sales tax. You don't need the taxes on anything. You could survive very well just on tariffs, and there'll be a surplus of cash that we won't know what to do with because every country in the world wants to do business with the country that consumes the most, and nobody consumes more than the United States of America. That's a proven fact.
So, how do you see that playing out then with the US's huge deficit right now in terms of debt, knowing that their interest payments are way more than their principal and any that they can ever pay off? Meanwhile, they have this abundance of money to somehow give to people for universal basic income, which allows for this transition. How do you see that then?
Well,
With like
because
policies?
because Mr. Mann, because they've printed the money out of thin air. It's backed up by no intrinsic value like gold or silver or real estate or diamonds or rubies, none of it, right? Because they printed that out of thin air, they've charged us illegal taxes with an entity called the IRS, which was registered in Puerto Rico in 1946. It's a corporation that's tied to our judicial system, our corrupt judicial system, our corrupt police force. Okay, that's why they call us a police state. And the only reason why everybody's paying taxes is because these guys have all the guns, right? So isn't that a mafia system? What's stopping Donald Trump to say, hey, you printed money out of thin air? Didn't cost you nothing. It's not backed up by gold. It's not backed up by silver. It's just digits in the computer. Screw you. We ain't paying you shit. And he gets the army to back that up because the army has the guns and the army's behind who? Donald Trump. See, it's going to be coming down to who's got the biggest gun, who's got the biggest penis. Right?
Very
You feeling me?
Very interesting. That's an interesting look, man.
Right
Interesting
now,
take.
not only Florida is moving towards no tax. You're paying rent to the state to rent your property your house sits on that supposedly you own. You don't own shit. You don't pay your taxes for 3 years, and the state comes and repossesses your house. Who owns the house? The state. The state is what? The mafia, the local mafia. How do they back up the laws? With guys with guns. But if we bring in a guy with a bigger gun or guys with bigger guns, which is called the United States Armed Forces, to go against the local sheriff's department, the local police department, the local whoever department that thinks that they are the big swinging dicks. Hello, Houston, we got a problem. Yeah, they're going to have a problem, not
So
us.
let me ask you then, with that being said, what happens to these mortgages that people have who have 20, 30, 40-year
These illegal
amortization
mortgages, when you sign on the deed, you already automatically own your house. That's another can of worms that we could open up that can of worms on another show. Okay. When
I'd
you
love to go
sign,
down that rabbit
it
hole with you
says
someday.
right there, that you already own your house.
Because when you sign their documents, you've given that right away to somebody else to actually govern that your property at that point there.
Brother, I can't wait for my movie to come out. My movie, Dear Mr. President.net, Dear MR President.net. You guys can go watch the first one for free. The next one, I'm sorry, because I spent a lot of money on the last one, and I didn't get near the donations I thought I would to recoup my losses. Okay, I got like $2,471.32. That's what it came out to. That was the
Okay.
total donations when I spent, 15,000 doing the movie. So anyway, long story short, dear Mr. President, is not going to cost a lot of money. It's going to be like $5 and change. $5.89.17. You know what I mean? We'll make it
I
that
love
number
it.
just to keep it interesting, right? There's that
589,
589
huh?
number.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Right? But it's going to be a 2 hour documentary. It could be a 3 hour documentary to be able to tell the scam, the story, and it could be a 3 part series because it's such a convoluted story. But we're doing it in such a level of education of like a fifth grader that anybody and everybody will understand it, right? And so if it's going to move you, $5 and free is the same thing. You're going to move it forward, say, spend the $5, or you'll send it to somebody as a gift certificate, right? Say, I just bought it for you. Here's the link. Go watch the movie. Okay. It's going to be unbelievable. And every government is in on the scam, and every government, not just in the United States, is a corporation of their government. They've done away with the original republic, whatever they call in your country, it doesn't matter. In the United States, we call it the republic. We got hijacked by the corporation. We're going to get rid of the corporation. If you see the writing on the wall and you see all of Donald Trump's chess moves, we're moving exactly in that direction. Right? 5 more states are moving towards getting rid of property taxes. What do you think is going to happen when you come to Florida? You have no property taxes, you have no income taxes, you have no capital gains taxes, and all the other states have all of the above. People are going to want to move to Florida like it's going out of style. So it's going to start a competition situation in all of the other states. Say, wait a minute, we can't compete with that. We're going to have to copy that. And they're going to be, by default, they're going to be forced to copy that.
That's intriguing. That's intriguing. It really is.
And if you become the 51st state, guess what happens to you guys? The same shit.
See, now I would love to see Canada do something like that. I still don't want to be a Canadian because to me, Canada's cooked and the writing's on the wall with the direction they're going. Trudeau's regime, whatever they are, the Liberals, had sold off all of Canada's gold in 2016 with Mark Carney as the puppet master when Trudeau was the premier at that point there. So like, I would love to, honestly, this is just me intrinsically saying this. I would love to see something like that. I don't know how Canada's going to, like what they're going to be doing ultimately. But what I do see though is Canada is working on some massive deals right now with pipelines out on the west coast there, out in BC, and those west coast pipelines come inland to Ontario and Saskatchewan and Manitoba. They will be, and Ontario is working on a new port within the Hudson Bay area, and then Canada actually signed a deal, the Canada EU deal, which allows for military out in the Arctic, and because military's out there at that port now, they can have now ships there that come across up to the Arctic itself, and they're carrying energy out to EU. So they have an energy deal with the EU. That's I find is interesting because Canada's now selling energy. We're not just a consumer; we're actually selling things again.
Well, the reason why you're probably not going to want to be there is I'm just going to speculate and think that you feel like a fish out of water because you have reached a level of education, of awareness that know that things aren't right. And the people around you refuse to wake up and you don't feel right in that energy environment. So you want to move out of that energy and come live with Mel Carmine in his gated community when I open up my gated community with my wife with production of free energy, production of food, production of everything. We're going to have a EE center, with like 7,000 machines that you can go in there in 2 hours and get, literally charge up. Okay. And you have swimming pools, and you have colloidal water swimming pools. You'll have everything where you stay nice and healthy for a very, very long time, and you're surrounded by what? Like-minded people. Now you feel at home.
Just setting all that up right now.
I'm going to in the future. I see myself doing that because I don't see humanity waking up fast enough. So by default, I'm being pushed into that situation. Even you got a bigger problem up there than here because over there the people are so cooked, like you said. I'm going to use your word, cooked. okay, meaning brainwashed, okay, beyond belief, beyond recognition, some of them beyond help. Some of these people who are cooked, like you say, might take 10 years for them to come around. Even though I believe I'm going to have 1,000-year lifespan in the future because of the medical modalities or things that are coming out that people can't explain, that they're hiding in Wright Patterson, in Area 51, in Dulce, and so on. I don't want to sit around for 10 years for some dumbass to wake up. I don't have that kind of time. I've been awake for 40 years. You either get with the program or you come live with Mel Carmine in our gated community if you're awake and you hang out with like-minded people. What do you want to do?
I'll
Now,
tell
which
you,
property can I sell you? Would you like the 2-acre property or the 4-acre property?
nice. That's nice, man. The direction I'm going down, because I'm part Jamaican and I have my Canadian passport already. I want to go for my Jamaican passport at this point here because my father's a Jamaican citizen, born there. So if I get my Jamaican citizen, I can now renounce my Canadian tax citizenship residency and now be in Jamaica at that point there. My wife and I, we're common law, though I understand the words are different in different jurisdictions. In Canada, when you live together, so when you first get together, if you live together for 6 months or longer, they consider you common law. They consider you married automatically. But on paper, we're not married. So my intent and plan is to go to Jamaica, me being a Jamaican citizen at this point here with my passport. When I marry my wife, she will be not what's the word here?
Naturalized.
Naturalized as a
Yeah,
Jamaican citizen in five
correct.
years, or we can pay 100 to 130,000 USD to the Jamaican consulate itself, I believe it is, and she can just become a Jamaican citizen immediately at that point.
Which you
Because
shouldn't have to do
Canada,
that anyway because that sounds like a bribe. I'm bribing the council. You know what I mean? Makes
well,
no,
I'm,
no.
I'm going to do it through investments. I'm going to buy real estate out there,
That's different.
and offer people places to live. And because Canada and Jamaica has a partnership together or a contract standing agreement known as the CARICOM agreement, that opens up 15 other islands for me: Grenada, Saint Lucia, Belize. I don't even remember Saint Kitts and Nevis. Like it opens 14 other islands that I can now move freely to. And one of those islands being Grenada, Grenada has a standing partnership with the US as well. So if I wanted to go get my US passport, I can do that through a Grenadian citizenship because all those other islands are opened up for me. My wife is European, she's German, so she has all of Europe. So essentially, I'll have Canada, I'll have 15 islands in the Caribbean, and I'll have all of Europe. I'll have like a good half of the world that I can move freely to as a sovereign individual outside of the system on my terms. So if you remember when COVID came around and they're like, "Sorry, Mr. Man, you can't fly." Who are you telling I can't fly? Who are you talking to right now? I'm sorry, I'm going home. You can't tell me nothing, man.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you a question. What part of Jamaica are you from?
Clarendon.
Clarendon. And where is that in proximity to Ocho Rios?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you, man. It's in the bush. That's where it is.
Okay. So I've been to your country about 8 or 9 times at least.
Nice. It's always
Yeah.
beautiful there. Always
I
beautiful
I toured the
temperature.
I toured the entire island practically. Yeah. I've been to Ocho Rios. I've been to Negril. I've been to Montego Bay.
Hmm.
I've been to the other. What's that? There's a place where it's like off limits for white people, but I'm not afraid. I'm not racist. I can't think of the name right now off the top of my head. But I went there,
Couldn't
had
tell you.
lunch. I was the only guy having lunch in that particular town they told me to stay away from, but I didn't stay away. And people were looking at me like, dude, you're either crazy or you're stupid or a lot of both.
How did they treat you there? They treat you well still?
Uh, huh?
How did they treat you there? Did they
Oh
treat you
no, they
well?
treat me great. Listen, I'm like a chameleon. You put me in anywhere, and I could just blend into any situation like that. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Cool.
that's not a problem. I've always been like that. But okay. Last question because I'm gonna have to go here. I got a marketing team getting ready to call me. It's a very important call in 9 minutes. You heard of the bearable bull?
Yeah.
He used to wear a mask.
Hmm.
Is there any time that you will take your mask off? And if you do, would you consider coming on my show, coming out to the world for the first time if you ever decide to take off the mask?
So that's a really good question, man. That's a very good question. One I've been weighing heavily for some time, and I've considered it as well. I just haven't considered how I would do it, and I guess the logic why I would do it yet. Because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I'm not doing it not like presently still, just because essentially this whole math thing started because it was my mentor was like, Mr. Man, you're gonna come on with me and drop some of the information that you have. You have fire information. And I don't know many people that know what you know. So I'm like, I'm not going online at all. No one needs to know about me. So now it just becomes a privacy thing. And I don't wanna maybe, quite possibly I could come on your show and do that if I decide to reveal myself.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. So,
No
guys, before
problem,
we
man.
close it out, how do they follow you, Mr. Man?
You can find me on X at Mr. Man XRP, or you can check out my Patreon as well, just Mr. Man, and you can join the Patreon group. Um, the amount of value myself and my team provide for you is next level, next level.
So
So
it's at Mr. Man XRP, the at symbol, Mr. Man XRP on X.com. Is that the only
on
channel you
X,
run?
that's correct. I had the YouTube. I stopped doing the YouTube. The writing was on the wall. YouTube became too tyrannical, so I just stopped it completely. And
I
now
hear
I just
you.
focus on X. Yeah.
I hear you. That's why I want to open up a channel on Facebook. I heard that they've literally people are growing there in leaps and bounds. I think that Mark Zuckerberg or the version of Mark Zuckerberg, whoever he is, has capitulated to Donald J. Trump. People are growing in leaps and bounds. My one of the guys that I follow, General Green, his channel has grown to like 400,000 in like a year and a half.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. So great growth there. But anyway, guys, before we go, again, don't forget QFS1776.com/shop. There's a lot of great items there. Go check it out. The dog food is definitely on the top of your list. If you love your dogs as much as I love my dogs, you would definitely feed them the right stuff. Okay, Carmine's Gold. We can still get you some silver, even at these high prices, delivered directly to your door anywhere in the United States. If you want a large sum of XRP, I'm connected with multiple brokers around the world. Some of these brokers are getting ready to open up offices in Los Angeles and in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and so on. I could get you as much as you want. 10,000 is the bare minimum. 10,000 is the bare minimum. $10,000 US. There's no limit. If you say, Mel, I'm a multi-billionaire or I inherited billions of dollars, I want to buy $100 million or $200 million worth of XRP. Can Mel Carmine get you that much XRP? The answer is yes, absolutely, and even more. Okay, so but you send me a text message to 704-8817 786-704-8817. That's not a number I socialize on. That's strictly for business. Say, I want to buy a large sum. My name is Joe Smith, and boom. And we'll make arrangements to talk on the phone. I will qualify you and then make the introductions. All right. Thank you guys. And we'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget, staying alive in Cape Canaveral, the Wellness Center. Come down and visit us. Recharge the body. We're made out of water, 33 trillion cells. Yes, we like to be at 90 millivolts. That's when disease goes away. Thank you
Well,
guys.
well said. Later, Mel.
And go
Later,
follow this
everyone.
guy.